The sun was dipping low over Lake Serenity, casting a golden glow across the resort's pristine waters, when Karen's shrill voice shattered the calm. "This is private property. No fishing allowed," she barked, her designer heels clicking furiously on the wooden dock as she tore down a hand-painted sign that read, "Fishing open to all guests." I stood frozen, watching her fling a guest's fishing rod into the lake like it was trash. My heart pounded not just from her audacity, but because this was my resort, my dream, and Karen, the HOA president, was hell-bent on controlling it. She'd been a thorn in my side since I bought the place, but this was war. I'd purchased Lake Serenity Resort 6 months ago, a quaint escape nestled in the mountains, where families came to fish, relax, and reconnect. The previous owner warned me about Karen, the self-appointed queen of the HOA who treated the resort like her personal kingdom. She'd bullied guests, enforced absurd rules, and sneered at anyone who dared challenge her. Her latest obsession was banning fishing, claiming it ruined the aesthetic of her curated paradise. Never mind that fishing was the resort's heart and soul, drawing crowds from across the state. Karen didn't care. She wanted control, and I was her biggest obstacle. That evening, as guests gathered for the nightly bonfire, whispers spread about Karen's outburst. I overheard a young couple, their faces tight with frustration, muttering about how she'd confiscated their son's fishing net. Another guest, an elderly man named Tom, shook his head, saying, "She told me my bait was unsanitary." Unsanitary? It's a lake. My blood boiled. I tried reasoning with her before calm emails, polite meetings, but Karen dismissed me like I was a servant. Tonight, though, something snapped. I wasn't going to let her ruin my guest's joy. I marched to the HOA office, a sleek cabin Karen had redecorated with gaudy chandeliers and velvet curtains, and found her typing furiously at her desk. "Karen," I said, keeping my voice steady, "you can't keep harassing my guests. Fishing is allowed. It's in the resort's charter." She didn't even look up. "Charter?" she scoffed, her manicured nails clicking against the keyboard. "I'm rewriting it. This resort needs class, not your hillbilly fishing nonsense." Her condescension stung, but I held my ground. "You don't own this place." "I do. Stop this, or we'll have a problem." She smirked, leaning back in her chair. "Try me, sweetheart." That was the spark. I spent the next week digging into the HOA's records, determined to find a way to stop her. Late nights poring over dusty files revealed a bombshell. Karen had been skimming funds from the HOA budget for years, funneling money into her personal account for renovations that never happened. The evidence was damning bank statements, forged receipts, even emails where she bragged about teaching these peasants a lesson. But there was more. A forgotten clause in the resort's bylaws stated that any HOA president found guilty of misconduct could be removed by unanimous guest vote. I had her. Then came the twist. While I was building my case, an unexpected ally emerged. Mrs. Delaney, a quiet retiree who'd been coming to the resort for decades. She approached me one morning, her hands trembling as she handed me a USB drive. "I used to be Karen's secretary," she whispered. She made me keep quiet about her schemes, but I recorded everything. The USB contained audio of Karen berating staff, mocking guests, and admitting to her embezzlement. Mrs. Delaney's eyes gleamed with defiance. She humiliated my grandson for fishing last summer. This is for him. Her courage shifted the tide. I wasn't just fighting for the resort anymore, I was fighting for everyone Karen had hurt. The confrontation came at the annual HOA meeting, held in the resort's grand pavilion. Karen strutted in, draped in a fur coat despite the summer heat, expecting her usual coronation. The room was packed with guests, their faces a mix of anger and anticipation. I took the podium, my hand steady as I laid out the evidence. The financial records, the emails, Mrs. Delaney's recordings. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Karen's voice echoed from the speakers, sneering. "These low-class fishermen don't deserve this lake." Karen's face drained of color. She leapt up, shouting, "Lies! This is a setup." But the guests weren't having it. Tom, the elderly fisherman, stood and pointed at her. "You threw my rod in the lake. We trusted you." The room erupted in agreement. Karen's defense unraveled as more guests shared their stories. Families she'd banned from the dock, kids she'd scolded for splashing in the water. I called for a vote, and the result was unanimous. Karen was out. But the real blow came when I revealed my next move. Using the bylaws, I petitioned to dissolve the HOA entirely, transferring full control of the resort to my management. The crowd roared with approval. Karen's empire was crumbling, and she knew it. Her downfall was spectacular. As the meeting ended, Karen stormed to the dock, desperate to salvage her pride. In a fit of rage, she began tearing apart the fishing area, snapping rods, kicking over bait buckets, and ripping down every sign in sight. Guests watched in stunned silence as she screamed, "This is my resort." But her tantrum was her undoing. A local news crew, tipped off by Mrs. Delaney, caught the whole thing on camera. The footage went viral, dubbed Karen's Lake Meltdown, and her reputation was torched. The next day, she was served with a lawsuit for embezzlement, and the resort's board banned her from the property for life. With Karen gone, Lake Serenity transformed. I reopened the fishing docks, hired local guides to teach kids how to cast, and turned the pavilion into a community hub where guests could share stories over campfires. The resort thrived, bookings doubled, and families returned, their laughter filling the air where Karen's commands once reigned. Mrs. Delaney became a regular, her grandson now proudly fishing off the dock Karen had despised. The lesson hit hard. Power built on fear and control can't last. Karen thought she could bully her way to dominance, but the truth backed by community's resolve brought her down. Her fall wasn't just justice. It was a reminder that no one is untouchable when people stand together. What do you think? Was Karen's punishment fair? Or did she deserve a chance at redemption? Share your thoughts, I'd love to hear where you stand.